This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Tim Hankewich in for one final time for the 2018-2019 season.
We are on the downhill run.
Yes. Yeah, well, it has been quite the run. Three concerts in like 3.5 or 4 weeks.
Or less, actually. It just goes by so quickly. Yeah, it just seems to me about a week ago, we were just talking about Harry Potter.
That's right, which was a blast, by the way.
And thank you for all your hard work in that. That was great.
It was fun writing a little bit of the wraparound script that hopefully
tied it all
together just a little bit. And you were brilliant doing your part on stage.
Please, get more money and give me my Oscar. So that was a whole lot of fun. A blast for the orchestra.
You remarked off air that that music was pretty hard. You said at the concert too.
It is. People sort of, I don't know why, but people kind of think this movie music is simple, and in fact it is as hard as any of the stuff we do on a Masterworks. And so the orchestra has been going through its paces, not only with that, which was hard enough. This past week, on Monday and Tuesday, we were rehearsing for the ITEC conference in Iowa City, the International Tuba and Euphonium Conference.
That's right. All the best and most important tuba-ists in the world are in Iowa City right now.
It's unbelievable. I mean, yes, there is a group of these people, and the world's leading artists are being showcased there, and tubists and euphonium players and brass bands from all over the country, and some of the artists from all over the world, from the UK and Germany and Austria, are here to share their craft. And the orchestra was their concerto band as they did some of these new works. Also, extraordinarily challenging music. And so I can't tell you how proud I am.
And so now Mahler feels like a little bit of a rest.
We were kind of laughing because, all of a sudden, we've got a little bit more rehearsal time. Yes, and we've studied this music. Yeah, normally Mahler would be the panic at the end of the season, and now it's going to be like, this is just nothing compared to the last 2 weeks. So looking forward to it.
So Mahler's Titan is the mainstay of the program. Before we talk specifically about it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say outside of the musical world, Mahler is a familiar name in classical and symphonic music. But I'm not sure that most people would regard him as, a titan. But in the music world, and people that I talk to in music speak of Mahler in the same tones that they speak of as Mozart and Bach.
Without a doubt. I mean, to the layperson, we've all heard Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Mozart. I mean, those are the mainstays. Those are the great heroes of the pantheon of composers. But the inside scoop, when you talk to any symphony musician, it's Mahler or Strauss, because first of all, the music is incredibly powerful, but it also pushes the envelope to what each instrument is capable of. The orchestration and the manner that he uses it, every instrumentalist gets a taste of something important to do, even the contrabassoon, even the piccolo, especially the strings. We're talking, that's basically a concerto for orchestra. The level of difficulty of this kind of music, it can't be done by your average run-of-the-mill orchestra. You have to have a depth of personnel that are really good. And lo and behold, we have this gem here in Cedar Rapids and Iowa City. So to be able to do Mahler, whenever you mention that name, musicians kind of like start drooling and get that far-off look. It's just, this is the kind of music that every orchestra measures themselves by. So it's kind of like the final exam.
Tell me a little bit about this particular piece, Titan.
Sure. So it was Mahler's very first symphony. He was in Moravia at his first gig when he composed it, and of course he put it in front of the orchestra, and the orchestra couldn't play it, and they hated it, and and shortly after Mahler left.
A piece that drove Mahler out of town.
Exactly, because the level of difficulty was unheard of at the time. Mahler went on to become the world's leading conductor and composer, and wrote all these great symphonies. All of his symphonies have a very spiritual component to it. Much of it is about going from earth to heaven. It's about the transmigration of the soul. So it's the first movement has sounds of spring and the like, and then it takes a bit of a dark turn. But when you get to the last movement, it's kind of like this incredible sunrise. And it's so filled with music. And he also sort of quotes Handel's Messiah. He does a loose sort of quotation from the Hallelujah chorus in there. And so that's this incredibly huge, uplifting work. So Mahler kind of straddled the worlds of the Jewish and Christian faiths, and it shows up in his music. And it actually turns out to be sort of an undercurrent for the other part of this program.
Sure. Let's segue right into that. Sure. Well done.
Well, thank you.
Almost like you planned it.
Almost.
Almost like you put these pieces together on purpose.
You know, sometimes I program without the aid of my magic 8-ball, and we do put a lot of thought into these things. There's a concerto on the first half featuring a young artist named Zlatomir Fung. Now, for a guy like me with a last name like Hankewich, I'm not. It does not surprise me when I come across an unusual name. And Zlatomir Fung is a young cellist who is just hitting it big, and he's playing this concerto called Shlomo, which is my absolute favorite cello concerto. And Shlomo is the Hebrew word for King Solomon. And the composer Ernst Bloch escaped Nazi Germany and resettled in the United States. And this is his great piece, and it's based on the Jewish chant of their service, and it's just this incredibly over-the-top, just passionate, beautiful, song-like quality of a concerto that just is haunting. It's just one of my all-time favorite works, and so that is a perfect pairing to the Mahler Symphony. And it also succeeds the very first piece on the work, on the very first work on the concert, a work by Jennifer Higdon called Blue Cathedral.
Continuing with this season's emphasis on female composers.
Absolutely, and she is probably the most preeminent female composer in the world right now, and deservedly so. She's remarkable. And this piece that we're playing of hers was really kind of what put her on the map. It was composed, 15, maybe 20 years ago now. And it was written in honor of her brother who passed away. And so it has this very reverential quality to it. And the way she colorlistically uses bells is both just for sonic enticement, but also sort of pays homage to the bells of a cathedral. And there's this great effect at the end of the work. She's the only person who I've ever seen write for Chinese reflex balls. So at the very end, the piece starts to disappear. One by one, musicians stop playing, and they pick up a Chinese reflex ball. So now, for those who don't know what it is, if you're at Chinatown or you go to China, it is a very typical souvenir. They're two small metallic balls that will fit in your hand, and you're supposed to just sort of manipulate them. And when they move, there's a chime inside, and it's this really quiet, dulcet tone. And there'll be 50 of them in the orchestra. And so as the music diminishes into nothing, this sort of shimmering chimes come out of the texture, and it's just I've actually got goosebumps just thinking about it. It is a wonderful effect. But long story short, each of these pieces have sort of a reverential, spiritual nature to them, and and it just accumulates with the music of Mahler.
It's Mahler's Titan and the other pieces that we've talked about. One performance only, correct?
Yes.
So one night only at the Paramount Theatre.
Yeah. Don't come up to me in the street and say, "Hey, I heard that was a great concert. I wish I was there." No. You need to be there. So yeah.
Well, this is the conclusion of a spectacular season.
Thank you much.
Congratulations on that, and we'll look forward in the summer and fall to get underway with 2019 and 2020. But in the meantime, I hope that this conclusion is as spectacular as the rest of the season has been.
Thank you very much, and I want to wish you and your audience a very great summer.
It's Orchestra Iowa coming up this Saturday night, June 1st, at the Paramount Theatre, one night only for Mahler's Titan and the other music that we described. orchestraiowa.org or artsiowa.com if you'd like more information and tickets. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays at 10:20, or download the video podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule using your favorite podcast app, or at kcck.org/culture. I'm Dennis Green.